Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? This is Freddie Ewan, two-time GM of the Year, Pantheon Cup champion, host of that fantasy football show with Freddie Ewan, and of course, the fantasy football god. Week 2 is almost in the books. One more game tonight, the Atlanta Falcons against my Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of fantasy players are going to be playing in that one. My boy Jalen Hurts, Bijan's going to be there on the other side. Um, AJ Brown is out. Devontae Smith owners looking to get some big points tonight, and Dallas Goedert owners as well. Should be really interesting. We're going to talk about right now, before we go into injuries, we're going to talk about the 5 things that we learned this weekend in week 2 in fantasy football. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Let me see if I can make sure I can do that. And just go ahead and bring up the first screen. Here we go. I mean, let me tell you something. What is going on in New Orleans right now? I have no idea. Clint Kubiak has got this offense going. The Saints have scored 11 touchdowns on offense through 2 games. Kamara, if you had Kamara on your team, you were probably a winner in fantasy football yesterday. The guy was nonstop, 4 touchdowns. I remember 3 or 4 years ago, he scored 5 touchdowns in one game, which was towards the end of the season. Rashid Shaheed, who I benched this weekend in one league, he has some big playability, caught another big one for a touchdown. Olive got hot, 4 catches, 81 yards, only ran 16 routes. But the guy, you got to be impressed with how Derek Carr is playing right now. Derek Carr is probably available in most fantasy football leagues right now, especially, there's even leagues that I'm in where guys think they need to have like 2 and 3 backup quarterbacks in one quarterback leagues, and Carr is sitting there, right there available, which is amazing. David Carr and Baker Mayfield are almost 1 and 2. I know they're certainly top 5 right now in fantasy football points. That's going to be the hot pick for the week. Even if you got a great quarterback, I think David Carr is someone that you got to go in and grab as a free agent on the waiver wire. We'll get into that more tomorrow, but how about those New Orleans Saints? I think any one of those guys right now are playable. They play the Eagles next week, and the Eagles don't have that great of a defense. I mean, the Eagles give up a lot of points, so I think these guys are all a go next week as well. Gonna be interesting. They beat the Cowboys pretty handily, scored a ton of points, really a ton of points. The second thing we're going to talk about is, how about the rookies this weekend? The rookies were Marvin Harrison, 2 touchdowns, only 4 catches, 2 touchdowns, 160 something yards, made up for his bad week last week. This guy right here, Malik Nabers, 18 targets yesterday, 18 targets. And I think that's going to continue. The guy put on a big game. I don't know how many points he had. I know that he did have a touchdown. Hey, the Giants are horrible. They're going to be behind in every game, and they got no one. They got no one to throw the ball to. Nabers is the only guy with any kind of big playability on the New York Giants right now. He is going to get the ball time and time again. His target share is just going to keep going up. I drafted this guy in 1 or 2 leagues and happy that I got him. He was you saw him go up the ranks as the preseason went on, and certainly the guy was all worth it. The rookies are getting hot. Brock Bowers had a big day yesterday. Nabers had a big day yesterday. Harrison had a big day yesterday. Brian Thomas didn't score any touchdowns, but he had a big catch yesterday for the Jaguars, whose Jaguars offense has been horribly inconsistent, but these rookies are getting hot. There were a lot of these rookies taken in the first round. Not necessarily the quarterbacks didn't play that great yesterday, but the receivers and tight ends and, the running backs are going to come through too. But, these rookie receivers, if you got them, play them, especially the top guys, because these guys are just going to get better and better, I think, especially Nabers and Harrison. These were 2 guys that, I really wanted on my fantasy football team this year. And, luckily I have one squad with both of them. So that's going to be exciting. Next thing that we want to talk about is we want to talk about this guy, J.K. Dobbins. I had traded last year for J.K. Dobbins, got tore his Achilles in the first game, just ruined you. J.K. Dobbins, if this is not the NFL comeback player of the year right now, I don't know who is. Dobbins is averaging 9.9 yards per carry. He is currently the running back 4 through 2 weeks, and that's just pretty much because Kamara got all those touchdowns yesterday. Gus Edwards has been playing a lot, but Dobbins is still the man. Had another big day yesterday. They play Pittsburgh next week. Pittsburgh's got a tough defense, and you could see Pittsburgh has really beat up these offenses pretty handily the first two games. But I mean, Dobbins is hot right now. I picked him up in one league on the waiver wire. He was available in probably about half my leagues for the waiver wire, and picked him up in the waiver wire in one league and spent a decent amount for him. And certainly it's worked out so far. I don't know if it's going to hold up, or I don't know if it's going to sustain, but I'm riding the Dobbins train right now, and so should you. This guy, Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, and this is another thing just to go over in general, is these slot receivers are catching balls like crazy. Cooper Kupp did it 2 weeks ago. Godwin did it today. Devontae Smith is going to work out of the slot a lot tonight. I think these slot receivers, the guy in Buffalo, Shakir, worked out of the slot, had a pretty good game in Buffalo on Thursday night. I benched Shakir in favor of Keon Coleman, and you saw what happened there. But Godwin has been the man in the slot. He is the overall wide receiver one right now in fantasy football. Who would have thought you would have said that? Chris Godwin over 2 weeks. And, you got to give it to Baker Mayfield, too. Baker Mayfield is becoming a premier fantasy football quarterback. And, God, what about the Browns, man? The Browns get rid of Mayfield. They got rid of Mayfield. They bring Watson in, trade all these first-round picks for him, pay him all this money, and Baker Mayfield is turning out to be a stud in Tampa Bay right now. It seems the Browns are just cursed. Ever since Art Modell picked that team up and moved them to Baltimore, it just seems the Browns have been absolutely cursed, and even before that. But it's just getting worse and worse for the Browns. But hey, Chris Godwin, some guy that you want to play. And the other thing is, you want to look at these slot receivers right now. These slot receivers, especially in PPR leagues, are catching a lot of passes, a lot of in-route passes. We are not seeing a lot of tight end play either, besides Brock Bowers, who played really good yesterday for the Raiders. A lot of these, Laporta did not have a good game, looked like the fifth option. Kincaid did not have a good game Thursday night. Travis Kelce hasn't even been seen for these first two games. He had one reception for, I think, 6 yards yesterday. Could you imagine, if we talked about that last year, Travis Kelce at one point was the wide receiver, or was the tight end one, and the tight end two was way down there. But, all these tight ends are just playing, they're not getting the ball. And that's because there's so many of these offensive coordinators that are sending these to the slot receivers. And trying to rack up yards out of the slot. It's been absolutely insane how well these slot receivers are doing in the NFL these first 2 weeks. And then the last and the fifth thing that we want to talk about is this guy, Anthony Richardson, had a horrible game yesterday, end up losing to Green Bay to Malik Nabers, or not Malik Nabers, Malik Willis, the quarterback for Green Bay. Green Bay gets the win. Richardson just played awful yesterday. If you're an Anthony Richardson owner, don't give up. This is the way Anthony Richardson's going to play. He was a very raw prospect coming out of Florida. The guy's got an arm like a canyon. He can run the ball like crazy. He is going to be vastly inconsistent in fantasy football, though. The guy is going to give you, 40 points one day, and he's going to give you 3 the next day. He's going to run for 2 touchdowns and throw 2 touchdowns and 350 yards one day, and the next day he's going to throw 4 interceptions and get sacked sometimes. That's the way it's going to be with Anthony Richardson, and I think it's going to be the way with him for at least the rest of the year. They got a great offensive coach in Steichen and in Indianapolis, but that is a team that is that's a guy that's going to need to take his licks, and he's going to need to learn. He's going to be up and down and up and down. Not going to be getting the garbage points that Jane Daniels seems to be getting, and that Jalen Hurts got a few years ago. But it's been super interesting. Those are the 5 things we learned from fantasy football. We learned a lot more this week. Injury report's been crazy. If you're a CMC owner, you are not really happy right now. I hope you got Jordan Mason as your handcuff. I own CMC in one league, and I do not have Mason. Mason is playing. San Fran lost yesterday, but Mason did have a good game. Fans were all, Cooper Kupp is now out for the Rams along with Puka. They don't know how long Cooper's going to be out for. But Rams players right now, I would not be drafting or playing any Rams players at this point. Hopefully Cup will come back sooner than later and get back to it, because I mean he looked dominant in that first week, and that injury just that hurts for Cooper Cup owners. Amon St. Brown, he's banged up a little bit. We're not too sure about his injury. It looks like he's going to play. AJ Brown not playing tonight for the Eagles, which was kind of a surprise. And that's going to help Goddard a lot. It's going to help Devontae Smith a lot. But I think that you're really not going to see. I think Saquon Barkley is going to pick up. I think those three guys are going to pick up the slack for AJ Brown. I don't think you're going to see a guy come in there like Dotson that's really going to pick up the stack for them. But they're a different team with AJ Brown. And CMC, obviously Mixon was down for a little bit yesterday. Pacheco is going to be on the injured reserve. Pacheco was having a really good year, had a really good start. He's going to be on the injured reserve, it seems. Pretty bad injury. There's some guys on the waiver wire that are not going to be that are still available. And I'm forgetting the guy's name off the bat, the rookie guy. What is his name? Hold on, I need to go find it. Carson Steele. Sorry that took me so long. Carson Steele. If you lost Pacheco, Carson Steele is your guy. Go spend as much as you can and pick him up on the waiver wire right now. Looking at the different waiver wires, we're gonna go over this a little bit more tomorrow. But obviously we talked a little about Carr as the quarterback doing phenomenal. Carson Steele is going to be the guy right now to pick up as a running back. Wide receivers, there's going to be a lot of wide receivers that are still down there. Quentin Johnson had a big day yesterday. He was a first round pick last year. And Quentin, this might be Quentin's year to play really good. I got McConkey. McConkey did not have a good game yesterday. Quentin Johnson scores 2 touchdowns. So that's going to be interesting to watch too, whether that was just a flash in the pan or not. Braylon Allen, also guy at running back, scored 2 touchdowns. Very interesting. Had a great day yesterday. Still going to be behind Breece Hall. But we're going to get all that into that a little bit more tomorrow. I'm going to get ready for the Eagles to play the Falcons. It should be super exciting tonight. I got one game still up in the air. The TPFFK game had a horrible day yesterday, but hopefully I might be able to pull out the victory still. Anyway, that's it. That's my report. Everyone have a great day. Thanks.